My name is Margaret Collins. I'm 59 years old, a widow, and for most of my life, I've tried to be the kind of woman people could count on. I live in a quiet suburb of Portland, Oregon, in a little blue house with white shutters that my late husband Mark and I bought when our children were still small. After he died of a heart attack 15 years ago, I learned how to fix leaky faucets, shovel snow, pay bills, and sleep alone. But through it all, I kept one promise to myself. My kids, Emily and Luke, would never have to struggle the way I did. For nearly 20 years, I've worked as an office manager at Caldwell Walker Law, a small but busy firm downtown. My life is simple, predictable. Coffee at 6:30, a drive through light traffic, paperwork, invoices, client calls, and then back home to silence. It's not glamorous, but it's steady. Stability became my comfort blanket after Mark died. My friends sometimes ask if I ever feel lonely. I usually smile and tell them I'm used to my own company, but that's not the full truth. The truth is, when your kids grow up, they stop being your whole world, but you never stop being theirs. At least, that's what I used to believe. Last Tuesday started like any other day. The rain had just started to clear, leaving that soft mist Oregon mornings are famous for. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee when I opened my laptop to check emails, bills, office memos, a newsletter from the library, and then, sitting between all the clutter, I saw her name, Emily Collins, my daughter. No subject line, just her name. I smiled. She was getting married in less than 3 months, and I figured it was some update about the seating chart, or maybe a sweet little message before her big day. I clicked open the email, and just like that, everything changed. "Mom," it started. No, "Dear Mom," no, "Hi." Just a plain label, cold and distant. The rest of the message was short, maybe 2 paragraphs, but every sentence landed like a blow. She said she and Andrew, her fiancé, had finalized the guest list for the wedding in Napa Valley. His parents wanted a small, intimate ceremony, and after talking it over, they decided it would be best for me to watch the wedding via livestream. She even added a link at the bottom with a cheerful little note. "Should be just like being there. Lol. Lol." Those 3 letters, sitting there like a knife wrapped in a smile. I remember staring at the screen for what felt like forever. The coffee on my desk went cold, but I couldn't move. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just sat there, still and quiet, like my whole body had shut down. It wasn't the email itself. It was what it meant. After everything I had done, after all the nights I stayed up worrying, working, saving, and sacrificing, my daughter was telling me I wasn't welcome at her own wedding. I didn't reply right away. I think I just went numb. My mind drifted to all the times I'd said yes without hesitation. When she changed majors twice in college, I paid the extra tuition. When she lost her apartment in New York, I wired money for the deposit before she even asked. When she went through her heartbreaks, I booked flights, took vacation days, sat beside her on her couch, and made tea while she cried. When Luke wanted to buy a house, I co-signed his mortgage and wrote a $10,000 check like it was nothing. I did it all because that's what mothers do. You give and give and give and tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself it's worth it. But that morning, looking at Emily's message, something inside me cracked. Not in anger, more like quiet recognition. I realized that somewhere along the way, my love had turned invisible. My sacrifices had become background noise. I didn't write paragraphs back. I didn't ask for an explanation. I just typed 4 words. Sure. Enjoy your big day. No emotion, no punctuation, just final. Then I closed my laptop, finished my now cold coffee, and got dressed for work. The drive to the office was quiet. Oregon's early spring air carried that damp chill that seeps into your bones. Usually I enjoy the rhythm of traffic lights and radio chatter, But that day, I barely noticed. I kept asking myself, how did we get here? What did I do wrong? Had I been too controlling, too giving, too present? Or had I simply become inconvenient? At work, I kept my head down. Robert, my boss, noticed something was off. He's one of those rare men who actually pays attention. Always remembers birthdays, how you take your coffee. Around 10, he placed a latte on my desk and said softly, "You look like you've seen a ghost." I almost told him. I wanted to say, my daughter disinvited me from her wedding, but I didn't. Instead, I smiled faintly and said, "Just didn't sleep much." He nodded, didn't press, and walked away. That small act of kindness nearly undid me. After all the noise in my head, the silence of simple understanding felt like grace. By noon, my phone started buzzing. Emily, then again, then Luke. I ignored them all. I didn't have the energy to defend myself for once. Maybe, I thought, it's time to stop being the one who always answers. When work ended, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I drove to First Federal Bank, just a few blocks away. The fluorescent lights hummed softly as I walked in. The same bank where I'd opened savings accounts for both kids when they were teenagers. Carlos, the branch manager, greeted me with his usual warm smile. "Mrs. Collins, what brings you in today?" I sat across from him and said calmly, "I need to cancel a wire transfer." He blinked. "The one to the Napa Valley venue." I nodded. "Yes, that one." He hesitated. "There might be a cancellation fee, depending on the timing. May I ask why?" "The circumstances have changed," I said simply. He looked at his screen, then back up at me. "You're in luck. It hasn't processed yet. Just in time." "Are you sure, Mrs. Collins? It's $50,000. I'm sure." I signed the papers, thanked him, and walked out. I didn't feel guilt or triumph, just a deep, still kind of peace. Outside, the late afternoon light painted everything gold. For the first time in a long while, I felt steady. When I got home, there were 9 missed calls from Emily and 2 from Luke. One voicemail from Emily's number simply said, "Mom, please don't do this." I poured myself a glass of red wine and sat on the porch. The air smelled like rain and pine. Somewhere down the block, a dog barked. Everything around me looked the same, but inside, I knew something irreversible had happened. That was the night I stopped measuring my worth in how much I could give. That was the night I realized silence can be louder than any argument. I watched the sun dip behind the trees and thought about the wedding, the money, the years I'd spent being everyone's safety net. For once, I didn't feel like fixing anything. I just sat there, still and quiet, and let the world keep spinning without me. I didn't sleep that night. I kept rereading Emily's email over and over again, like maybe I had missed a line where she said, "Just kidding. Of course I want you here, Mom." But no, it was just those same cold, polite words. "Don't come to my wedding. Watch through livestream, okay?" It felt less like a message from my daughter and more like a memo from a stranger. The next morning, I made myself coffee, but couldn't drink it. My hands were shaking. The mug felt too heavy. I stared at the framed photos on the counter. Emily in her prom dress, Emily at graduation, Emily as a little girl, holding my hand on her first day of school. I whispered, "How did we get here?" I had raised her alone after her father died. It wasn't easy. Double shifts, skipped dinners, overdue rent, but I never complained. I wanted her to have what I didn't. And now, the little girl who once made me promise to sit front row at her wedding was telling me to stay home. I called her, of course, straight to voicemail. Then I texted. No reply. I waited a few hours, then tried again. Nothing. Later that evening, her fiancé, Jason, called. My heart jumped, hoping he'd say it was a misunderstanding. But his voice was cold too. "Margaret," he began, "I think it's better if you respect Emily's wishes. She's under a lot of stress right now. It's her special day. I'm her mother, I said quietly. Mothers are supposed to be there. There was a pause. Then he said, we just want peace. You can still be part of it, just virtually. And he hung up. That night, I cried until my pillow was soaked. I thought of all the sacrifices I made. The nights I worked overtime to afford her college tuition. The times I skipped new clothes so she could go on trips. The endless encouragement when she doubted herself. Was all that invisible now? I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was just hollow. But the next day, something inside me shifted. I remembered something Emily once said when she was little, maybe 10 years old. I had missed her school recital because my car broke down. She came home crying, saying, everyone's mum was there. You weren't. It's not the same watching on video. And now, years later, she was doing the same to me. That thought burned, so I decided I wouldn't fight her. I wouldn't beg. But I also wouldn't vanish quietly. I would be present in my own way. I started small. I mailed her a wedding gift. An old jewelry box that belonged to her grandmother. Inside, I placed a small note, something old, something loved. From the woman who taught you what love looks like. No reply. I didn't expect one. But I wasn't done. Over the next week, I made a quiet plan. The wedding was to be held at a vineyard in Napa Valley. Elegant, exclusive. Not the kind of place I ever thought I'd step foot in. But I found out they had an open viewing area on the other side of the hill, overlooking the ceremony grounds. I called and confirmed. Yes, it was public property, so I booked a small Airbnb 5 miles away. Just one night, the day before the wedding, I packed my best dress. The one Emily helped me choose 2 years ago for a company dinner. I ironed it, folded it carefully, and slipped a photo of us inside my purse. When I arrived in Napa, the weather was perfect. Warm sun, cool breeze. The vineyard stretched for miles, golden and green. As I walked along the edge, I could see the white chairs, the floral arch, the string lights being hung. Everything looked picture perfect, and I felt proud. Despite everything, my daughter had built something beautiful. I stayed quiet, unnoticed. The next morning, I got up early, dressed, and made my way to that same hill. I brought a pair of binoculars. Not to spy, but to feel closer. I didn't want to interrupt or intrude. I just wanted to witness. As guests began to arrive, I recognized some faces. Her college friends, relatives I hadn't seen in years. They all smiled and took photos. Then Emily appeared. My breath caught. She looked stunning. Her hair in soft waves. Her dress simple yet elegant. For a moment, I forgot the pain. I just saw my little girl, grown up, radiant, walking toward her future. But then, something unexpected happened. She looked around, scanning the guests. Her smile faltered for just a second. Then she looked up, toward the hill, toward where I was standing. I froze. For a split second, our eyes met. Or maybe I imagined it. But in that moment, I saw something flicker across her face. Guilt, sadness, I couldn't tell. Then she looked away and the ceremony began. I stood there the whole time, silent. When they said their vows, I whispered mine too. A mother's silent promise. Wherever you go, my love follows. When the guests clapped, I clapped softly too. When they kissed, I smiled through tears. I didn't need to be seen. I just needed to see. When the ceremony ended, I turned to leave. But before I could, a familiar voice called out, "Mrs. Collins!" I turned. It was Jason's mother, Linda. I hadn't seen her in years. She looked surprised. "You came?" I nodded. "Just to watch." I didn't want to cause a scene. She looked at me for a long moment, then said quietly, "You should come say hello. I think Emily might need that more than she knows." I shook my head. "Not today. Today's hers." Linda smiled sadly. "You're a good mother." As I walked back to my car, I didn't feel broken anymore. I felt peaceful. like I had done what a mother does. Show up, even when she's not wanted. But later that night, back at the Airbnb, I got an email from Emily. "Mom, I saw you. Please don't leave yet. I need to talk to you." I stared at that email for a long time. The words blurred through my tears. "Mom, I saw you. Please don't leave yet. I need to talk to you." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. My heart was beating so hard it hurt. After all the silence, all the distance, after being told to stay away, she wanted to see me. It was almost midnight, but I didn't care. I grabbed my sweater, keys and purse, and stepped out into the cool Napa night. The sky was velvet dark, full of stars, and the vineyard lights glimmered faintly in the distance. My phone buzzed again. Another message. "Meet me by the big oak near the parking lot. I don't want anyone else to see." Her words made sense. She'd just gotten married after all. I didn't want to cause her any embarrassment or questions. I just wanted to hug her, even once. When I reached the vineyard, most guests had left. The music had faded into soft echoes, the laughter replaced by the chirping of crickets. The massive oak tree stood like a quiet witness to the night's joy. Then I saw her. Emily stood beneath the golden fairy lights that wrapped around the trunk, her wedding dress slightly rumpled, her makeup faded. But to me, she was perfect. For a moment, neither of us spoke. We just looked at each other, years of love, hurt, and misunderstanding passing silently between us. Then she stepped forward, her voice trembling. "You really came." I tried to smile. "You told me not to." "I know." She looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. "I didn't mean it like that. I didn't want any drama. You and Jason never really." I raised a hand gently. "You don't have to explain. It's your day." Her eyes filled with tears. "No, Mom, that's not fair. I should explain." She took a deep breath. "Jason thought it would be better if you didn't come. He said you'd make things emotional, that you'd cry or say something that would draw attention." I laughed softly. He wasn't wrong about the crying part. She smiled weakly, then the smile faded. But I didn't stop him. I let him send that email from my account. I didn't want to argue. I told myself you'd understand. The words hit me like a quiet knife. Jason had sent it, but she had let him. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Emily, all I ever wanted was to see you happy. I would have sat in the last row, behind a pillar, if that's what you needed. But being told to stay away, it broke something in me." She looked at me, guilt flooding her eyes. "I know, Mom. When I saw you on that hill, I thought I was imagining it. But when I realized it was really you, standing there alone, watching from so far away." Her voice cracked. "I wanted to stop the ceremony right then." I stepped closer. "But you didn't," she nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Because I was scared. Scared of upsetting everyone. Scared of Jason's reaction. Scared of looking like the emotional daughter again." She wiped her eyes roughly. "But when I saw you walking away, I realized something. I had become the very thing I swore I'd never be. Ungrateful." I shook my head. "You're not ungrateful, sweetheart. You're just growing. And sometimes growing hurts." We stood there, inches apart, the night air cool around us. She suddenly threw her arms around me. It was like time folded in on itself. I wasn't standing there as an older woman. I was back in the kitchen, holding her after a nightmare, whispering that everything would be okay. She whispered into my shoulder, "I'm sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." I held her tighter. "I know, it's okay." For a while, neither of us spoke. The wind rustled the leaves, and somewhere far off, a door closed softly. Then she pulled back, her eyes red. "Jason doesn't know I came to see you. He wouldn't understand." I looked at her carefully. "Then maybe you need to help him understand." She nodded slowly. "I will. I think I let him have too much say in things that weren't his to control. He means well, but he doesn't know what we've been through." She glanced down at her ring, twisting it nervously. Do you think I made a mistake, Mom? I hesitated, then smiled faintly. Every marriage has mistakes, honey. The real question is whether you're willing to fix them together. She nodded again, this time more firmly. I am. We sat down on a wooden bench near the oak, the hem of her dress brushing the grass. She rested her head on my shoulder, like she used to when she was a teenager, tired from school. After a while, she whispered, "You know, when I was getting ready today, I kept thinking about you, about how you taught me to sew, how you told me to always stand up for myself, how you stayed strong even when Dad died. And then I realized I wouldn't even know what love means if it weren't for you." My throat tightened. "You just made my whole life worth it." She smiled softly. "Will you stay for breakfast tomorrow? Just the two of us. I want to talk. Really talk." I nodded. I'd like that. When she left, I watched her walk away under the soft golden lights. My little girl. All grown up, but still, somehow, mine. I went back to my Airbnb that night, feeling lighter than I had in years. I didn't need a front row seat or a spotlight. I had something better. Reconciliation. The next morning, I woke up early, bought fresh flowers, and met her at a quiet cafe in town. She was already there, wearing a simple sundress, her wedding ring catching the morning light. We talked for hours about the wedding, her childhood, her fears, even Jason. She promised she'd talk to him honestly. When we finally stood to leave, she hugged me again. This time, it wasn't a rushed embrace. It was real, long, full of love. "Mom," she said quietly, "thank you for showing up, even when I told you not to. That's what moms do, isn't it?" I smiled, brushing her hair back gently. "That's exactly what moms do." As she walked toward her car, I stood there watching her. The same way I had watched her take her first steps. Her first day of school, her graduation, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel left behind. I felt seen, loved, and proud. When I got home later that day, I opened my laptop and found a new email waiting for me. It was from Emily again. Subject: "For the live stream, Mom." I rewatched the wedding video, and I swear, when the sun hit the hill, I could see you standing there. You were glowing. Thank you for being there. In your own way, I'll never forget it. I smiled through tears. Maybe she didn't want me in the wedding, but she would always carry me in her heart. And sometimes, that's enough.